My name is Julius Njogu. I work with Population Service International, PSI. PSI is one of the partners within Accelerator Consortium that is in charge of driving the learning agenda that is for generating the evidence for this program, so that we can be able to evaluate the performance of this program, and at the same time to generate evidence that is for informing program decision making, including adaptations. In the past 3 years, we've been implementing research activities across 13 counties. And these research activities include doing health facility assessment surveys to understand the readiness and the quality of the services from these facilities. And we also evaluate the impact of the SBCC activities in the communities, just to understand the impact of the program in creating awareness of the GBV and SRH issues in these communities. The past 3 years, as I mentioned, one of the things that was coming out is the lack of the shelter in our learning activities. We realized that very many people, they were not able to mention a place where they could seek support and support and rescue in case they were violated. Actually, at the start of the program, only 30% of the people, they were actually knowledgeable on where they can seek support in case they were violated. For me, we can say that the shelter was like the missing link in terms of the GBV response, because a lot of work is going on within the health facilities, creating awareness in the communities. But then again, after people maybe have generated knowledge on where they can seek support, then the question arises, if somebody needs to be rescued, do we have safe shelters? And the evidence that is coming out is that across all the 13 counties, we did shelter mapping activities, and we found that shelter services, they are lacking. And you can imagine that in some of the counties, there are no shelter resources at all, assuming that if somebody has been violated, they do not have a place where they can be supported, to be rescued, as they wait for other permanent solution to be made. So in our case, we did these shelter mapping activities in those 13 counties, and we could find that there could be maybe 1 or 2 functioning shelters. But then again, because of the demand, those shelters were heavily congested because the demand was very high, and the resource to man those cases, they were very, it's not as much. And we're hoping that with additional funding from the DENIDA or from the Embassy of Denmark in Kenya, we'll be able to support additional capacity for these shelters so that they can be able to manage many cases and provide quality services. And also from the research, we found that there are a number of structural gaps within the shelters. For example, we found that most of these shelters, they do not have any reporting systems available. There are no national reporting tools for them to report any of their statistics. So you can imagine that as a country, we do not know what kind of services are provided and what kind of people are being seen in those shelters. So we are hoping that with this additional funding, we'll be able to bring a mark and bring additional learnings that will be support generation of new evidence about the operation of these shelters, so that we can even inform other program activities at the national scales or even at the county level. At the same time, we also realized that from the mapping activity, there's a lot of other capacity gaps for the shelters. Not very many shelters, they have trained staff. So you can imagine that a majority of the shelters, especially in Narok, Kajiado County, West Pokot, they are being run by teachers who primarily, they are the ones who are rescuing girls running away from the FGM, but they may not be really well focused to manage all the aspects of the survivors. So there's a lot of things that need to be done in terms of the training of these providers. With the coming of this additional funding, we'll be able to set a shelter-focused learning agenda. We'll be able to bring on board several key stakeholders to be able to prioritize key learning areas. Thereby, we'll go and collect the data so that we can be able to inform evidence from the shelter activities. So we think that this additional fund will be very valuable because there is no evidence, there's no published data on the shelter activities here in Kenya. And I think this work will bring a lot of experiences and learning as we continue implementing